Do you want a quick way to get a really phenomenal balanced mix which sounds incredible? Well, I've got this quick tip for you which is going to revolutionize your mixing. And if you're new to mixing and it's something you struggle with, this tip really helped me out to understand what balanced sounds like. And that is using pink noise. It's super simple and works really, really well. I will caveat that it's not the most pleasant thing to do the first few times, but it can help to really train your ears to understand what balanced sounds like, so that after a few times of doing this technique, or you can use it religiously, is up to you, you will know how to get your mix sounding super balanced. So let's hop into Ableton and I'll show you exactly what I mean. What I have here is a breakbeat project and all the faders here are set to 0, so it's not really balanced at all, and it sounds kind of like this. I've turned down because it's all going to be super loud, I've turned down this mix bus here just a little bit as well, just so we don't blow everyone's speakers, but it sounds like this. So it's not really mixed super well at all. So the volume balance is probably 70 or 80% of the final sound of a mixdown. So it's so important to get the balance right. And this mixing with pink noise tip is really, really good for that. It's a really easy way to learn what a good balance sounds like. And you just use it as a rule of thumb and general guidelines. It's not a perfect, but if you have never mixed before and having trouble, then I'd recommend trying this out because it can really help you. And it definitely helped me when I was learning mixing. So firstly, let's talk about pink noise. So pink noise is a type of noise, hence the name, and it's some of you guys might know about white noise. So white noise is a very classic thing which has a lot of functions in production, but white noise is basically an even distribution of amplitude over every frequency. So every frequency is the same volume, whereas pink noise is equal distribution across octaves. And what this tends to mean is that low frequencies are louder and higher frequencies are quieter. And it actually ends up being a very nice balanced curve to follow. So let's just open up Diva, and what I have here is just a super simple patch here. All of the oscillators are turned off, but the noise is turned up to the max. We can flick between pink noise and white noise. So firstly, this is white noise, which most of you are probably pretty familiar with. Completely unfiltered white noise. It sounds pretty gross, but this is pink noise. This is going to sound a little bit nicer. It's got a lot more lower end energy and more balance over the frequency spectrum. So this is what we're going to be using so far. And obviously you can use pretty much any synth to generate noise, like Serum here. If you go to just turn on the noise oscillator here, you go to analog, you can choose ARP pink or ARP white or bright white, and it's much the same here. So let's use the Diva one. So what I'm going to do is just create a MIDI clip here with a consistent note. It doesn't really matter what I put it on, because it's just noise. Have a prolonged note. Let's legato this. So this is going to sound like this. Sounds beautiful, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do is turn this down to maybe about minus. So we're peaking at about 8.49 decibels. That might be a little bit too loud. So let's turn it down by 4 decibels. So we have 12.5. So that means that this is going to be our kind of like loudness of our mix. So the mixing with pink noise technique is pretty simple, to be fair. Basically what you do is you turn the faders all the way down. Basically what you do is you set all of the faders to 0 and then mix the sound in until you can just about hear it, then dial it back until it just disappears. And then you move on to the next sound. And then you do that with every sound. And then once you do this, all of the sounds are going to sound nice and balanced. So I'm going to do a couple of demonstrations with this to start with, and then I'm going to fast forward through it and just do it like for the whole track, and then I'll show you what it sounds like, because it can be a little bit tedious on the ears, but I can show you it works. So let's start with the kick. So that would probably be the point where it disappears to my ears anyway. So yeah, it's not the nicest way of doing things. Then let's do it with the bass. So let's turn the kick off for now and do it with this bass. probably the point. Now let's see how this sounds with our kick and bass. And because I know that generally your kick wants to be roughly 2 to 3 decibels below the kick, we're at 14 decibels on the kick, and we're at minus 16.3 on the bass, which is actually spot on. So this has worked so far. So let's do it with some of the melodic elements. Let's do it with this pluck element here. That sounds pretty good. Well, it doesn't sound good, but let's see how it sounds like now. That sounds pretty good. Now let's do it with the pads. I told you this wasn't going to be super pleasant, but let's see what this sounds like now with the kick, bass, and pads. It's pretty good balance. Let's try it with the piano. So for the piano, we have 2 elements. We have piano chords and a piano melody. So let's do it with the chords first. Okay, that sounds probably pretty good. Then let's do it with the piano melody. That's probably a good level, so let's see how this sounds. That sounds pretty good to me. I'm just going to fast forward and do the rest of the elements because I don't think you really want to be listening to noise too often. But the point is you have to do this with every element, so I'm just going to skip through. Okay, I've just done the rest of it, so this is what I got with the pink noise mixing technique. So I've just finished doing all of the sounds, and this is what I got by mixing with pink noise. To me, that sounds pretty good, I would say. And one thing that I've noticed that I didn't know before, and which actually makes a lot of sense, is whatever you set the volume of the pink noise is going to be pretty close to what your output mix is going to be. Now, obviously, it isn't exactly perfect, a way of doing it, but we were peaking at minus 8.31 and our mix is at minus 8.16. So pretty damn close to being balanced like pink noise. Now, generally before mastering, you want your mix to have at least minus 6 decibels of headroom. So the maximum I would set your pink noise to is be minus 6, but there's nothing wrong with a quieter mix because you gain that volume back from mastering anyway. So maybe aim for about minus 7, minus 8, or even minus 6 at the most, and you're going to have a really nice balanced mix, which is going to translate really well to mastering with additional headroom. So I'm actually pretty impressed with how this turned out. Now, just a little caveat here. So this would be, you do this for the initial volume balance of your mixdown, okay? But whenever you add extra effects on or extra processing, such as EQ, compression, saturation, reverbs, delays, that's going to affect the volume of your instruments. So if you're not properly gain staging, or if you're not properly volume matching each effect, which not everyone does, it can take a little bit of time, but I would highly recommend that you do, then this is going to affect the volume balance. So you'd have to do this again. So once you've dived in, found a good volume balance, and be very cautious of how much this affects the volume of each of your elements, because it's then going to shift that balance away. So everything you do affects that balance. So you have to bring it back into balance. So if, say, you add some saturation, which turns up the volume of, say, the bass, you're going to have to turn the bass down to get back to that original balance. So probably a good thing to do would be get the initial volume balance first using pink noise, then do all your extra processing, and then do your final volume balance once everything's mixed and sounding super pristine using the pink noise, and you're going to have a really nice sounding mix down. So there you have it. That's how you mix with pink noise. It's a really cool technique that I haven't used for a while. I'm glad I gave it another go, because if anything, it proves that it still works, and kind of, to me, showed that I am mixing in the right way, because my mixes sound pretty close, maybe a little bit better, to mixing from pink noise. Mixing can seem pretty complex and daunting, and a lot of people struggle with this. And it's one of the key components of my music production program, where we go through every single instrument, every single element of your track, how to mix it, how to write each element better. So, for example, better kick loops, better bass loops, better melodies, better everything, plus how to mix them and make them sound super professional. Plus, it covers the business component of things, like growing your fan base, getting heard by the right people, signing to labels, and just monetizing your career. So if this is something that you want help with, then drop a comment below saying program, and I'll send you more information. Don't forget to join my Produce Like a Pro Facebook group. It's free. We do weekly track feedback calls, plus lots of other additional content that doesn't get shared on YouTube. So go join that. Also join my mailing list. There's a lot of really great information that goes out to specifically for producers in there, which I also don't share on YouTube. So go check that out as well. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. I will love you forever. If there's ever a video that you want me to do, or a topic, drop it in the comments and I'll make it for you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.